Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is August 3rd, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. As you can see, we've got our vortex across the Gulf of Alaska. It is now pushing towards southeast Alaska. Still slow moving, still with us out here. It's also helping to bring this troughing towards the coastline that may eventually bring some precipitation here back into the Pacific Northwest. We're going to take a look at that in some details we go through this morning. We're also going to take a look at what's going to happen after that. We're starting to get some model agreement at another ridge building in the wake of that trough, starting to warm us up as we go towards next weekend. So let's take a look at what happened yesterday. And you can see we had some thunderstorm activity across portions of Oregon. Let's click on the lightning strike display here really quickly there as well. And as we scroll through the day, you can see all the thunderstorm activity we had across portions of Oregon. Had a couple across Washington, but we had a bit more across British Columbia as well, in towards western Montana, some of the Rocky Mountains of Idaho also. And you notice there, if I scroll and toggle back and forth, you see that marine layer across the Puget Sound. It broke out just in time for the Blue Angels yesterday. It's going to try to do that again today, but it may keep some of those clouds around a bit longer for those of you headed out towards Seafair today. And also, we have some potential for some severe storms again across portions of Oregon today. You can already see that mid-level moisture out there. In fact, we're getting lightning strikes as we speak right now across portions of Oregon. And you can see the marine layer pushed in towards the Willamette Valley and some of western Washington, way up into the terrain. If you look closely, you can kind of see those terrain features of the Cascades. If you're across the higher portions of the Olympic Mountains, you are above that marine layer, however. Now, if we take a look at lightning strikes over the last 24 hours, it makes sense with what we just looked at. And here is for today. Isolated dry thunderstorm potential still exists for eastern Oregon, moving into portions of Idaho, and day two, some similar areas as well. Now, this is for day one. You can see this is a wind and hail threat across portions of Oregon and Idaho, just clipping southeast Washington. No tornado threat will be apparent with that. You can never rule one out, of course, but yeah, the biggest threat is wind and hail with some of these stronger storms. Again, the marginal risk right there across eastern Oregon in towards Idaho. Day two, that moves off to the east there across some of the Rocky Mountains and includes Montana. Now, this is day three. Looks like we get a little bit of a break of some of the thunderstorm action for much of Oregon, at least. We'll check back on that coming up. And the Bear Gulch fire is up towards 5,000 acres right now. And yeah, it's only 6% contained. This may burn all the way on into the late fall or even on in towards the winter months before the rain and the snows can finally extinguish this fire. The good news is right now it's not producing a ton of smoke as we go through the day today. You can see some of that across northwest Washington, up across some of the Strait and into British Columbia, some portions east as well. There's also some other fires burning there, but we're not getting huge amounts of smoke produced, at least not on a region-wide basis. And then we scroll on in through Monday, see the smoke drifting around. The Bear Gulch fire still producing some. I just worry about what's going to happen as we go through this weekend and warm back up again. Are we going to get some of these fires to flare up after that happens? We'll see. Now, looking at the European wider view of things here, you got Alaska, there is the Pacific Northwest. Kind of to the left of this image, you can see the lower 48. There's Greenland to the far upper right. Put this into motion, and you can see the trough that's going to be with us here for the next few days. This is as we go through the day today. We're now moving into Monday. Troughing still apparent across Pacific Northwest, well up into Western Canada. We scroll off in towards Tuesday morning now, and this is where we have the potential for a frontal system come in either Tuesday afternoon or on the day Wednesday. That troughing slow to move out here as we go through Thursday. We're now looking at Thursday afternoon, but you also see the ridge start to develop here across some of the Gulf of Alaska up towards southeast Alaska, would help start to warm things up as soon as this trough gets out of our region. And again, you can kind of see that, excuse me, in the 6-day period as we start to go a bit closer towards the weekend here, we start to get this ridging pointed up towards our area. So taking a look at the potential for precipitation here as we go on into this week. You see the low pressure center out there? It's fairly weak if you're looking at it from the lens of what's going to be coming in the fall and the winter months. But, you know, it's summertime. You have to take anything we can get. And you see the precipitation approach Western Canada, Vancouver Island, and the Washington coast as we go through Tuesday afternoon. You can see that precipitation kind of hanging on there. It doesn't show much for Seattle or Portland with that round, but then we push a little bit more in here and we get this next frontal system rolling through as we go through Wednesday afternoon. Starts to bring a little bit better chance of precipitation for some inland areas. It's not showing too much, but again, we're going to be watching this. At least it's hanging on here. I've seen these frontal systems disappear quite quickly at this time of year and really weaken, but it's still showing some precipitation moving across the area. Now, Now here we go on through Thursday afternoon, still got that troughing, still got some shower activity going on. And then you notice the ridge out here across Pacific Ocean starts to nose into our area. And that is when we start to deal with the warm up as we go through this upcoming weekend. What I'm showing you here is Friday night, and there goes that ridge starting to shut down that precipitation. Now, looking at the GFS, we just looked at the European. So this is a global forecast system on the left, the USA model versus the North American model here on the right. Now, if we put that into motion, we're going to scroll through the next couple of days and we go towards Tuesday afternoon. You can see that precipitation approaching the coastline. So getting some decent model agreement there on both the North American and the GFS and the European model. And then as we go through the day on Wednesday, again, you can see that kind of push in towards some interior areas. So mossbacks, you got to be looking forward to this, the potential for it anyway. We'll keep watching. It's still 84 hours out. It can still change and weaken, or maybe we'll get a little bit of an upgrade. Who knows? Now, taking a look at total precipitation in inches over the next 6 days on the European model. So here we go. We're scrolling through Tuesday, and you see that precipitation approaching the coastline. You see the coast picking up a couple tenths of precipitation. Then we go through Wednesday, and you see that pushing inland a little bit more. By Wednesday afternoon, it starts to show a little bit of rainfall for Portland and Seattle. We'll scroll on in through Wednesday night, and you see some of that coming across the Cascades there as well. So yeah, we've had a hard time here as we've been moving through this year. We have a big precipitation deficit. We got some severe and extreme drought across the area. So this precipitation would definitely be very beneficial. But again, we'll kind of break this down and keep checking this out over the next few days. We'll get some high resolution models in range here over the next day or two as well. So taking a look at what is to come after this trough, there's the European artificial intelligence on the left versus the GFS on the right. We're looking at the Northeast Pacific Ocean. Trough will be hanging out with us as we go through this upcoming week. But when we go towards Friday, and you can see the GFS and the artificial intelligence, pretty good agreement with that trough moving across some of the Rocky Mountains, portions of Alberta there, and the ridge starting to build in the wake of that trough, and it gets established here as we go through the upcoming weekend. You can see a little bit of difference here as we go on in through the early portion of next week. Look at the artificial intelligence, pretty robust ridge. It starts to develop right off our coastline, but then it quickly, I shouldn't say quickly, it flattens out after a few days there, and then it would keep us from being in a prolonged heat wave as the ridge backs up and retrogrades off to the west. GFS, kind of a mixed signal there as well. It does show that upper level low kind of hanging right off the coast of Oregon. But again, that's to be expected at that time range. Once you get 10 days out, you could get big model disagreement. But here we go. As we go through this upcoming weekend, you can clearly see the ridge building, and we're going to warm things up. So I get a lot of questions like, is summer over? Are we finally headed back down towards some cooler fall weather? Well, the answer is after this trough, not yet. And that's typical for this time of year. It's still August. We can still get very warm. You can still get pretty warm temperatures all the way on in through September across the Pacific Northwest as well. So if we take a look at the ensembles, let's check out the ensembles and see what they have to say. We got the European versus the artificial intelligence, and you can clearly see they both do show this ridge as we go through the 6-day time period about Friday night developing off our coastline. So we're getting some model agreement with that rolling in. Now, looking where we are today, a Sunday, August 3rd, look at Seattle, Seafair 75, cooler conditions across the Willamette Valley than previous days as well. Some low 90s across eastern Washington. Looks like Boise at 94, Medford 87, some mid 70s for southwest BC. You can see if you go across the higher terrain, you definitely have the lower high temperatures, like some of the higher areas, like I think that's Paradise Mount Rainier, 58 degrees. Some of the higher portions of the Olympic Mountains there, maybe into the 60s. Then we go on in through Monday, August 4th. You can see not much warm up for Seattle. We go Tuesday, Wednesday. Remember, we're going to be dealing with the trough and the potential for some precipitation during this time. How much of that will creep east of the mountains? Doesn't look like much, but we'll watch that potential here also as we go through this upcoming week. We go through Thursday, but then what happens as we go towards the weekend? We go Friday, Saturday, gradual warming trend starts to ramp up as that ridge then gets reestablished, and we go through Sunday, Monday. Look at that Seattle 85, some 90s, maybe some upper 90s for the Willamette Valley, depending on how that ridge sets up, and then we stay warm through Tuesday, and then who knows what's going to happen after that. But if we look at the GFS, This is last night's run. You can see Seattle, we're dealing with this troughing here, then the gradual warm up as we go through the next weekend and early portion of the following week. So again, we'll be watching that to see just how much we are going to warm up. But those are particularly hot days for Seattle. If we get a couple 90-degree days there, August 11th or 12th. But the European does not agree with warming up that much. So just something to watch. Here's a GFS for Portland as well, kind of showing you that heat. And here's something fun for the extended forecast. You can see as we go on in through the later portion of August and then on through September, you can kind of see the rainfall starting to return a little bit there for Seattle, Washington. We really need it. Hopefully this does happen. This isn't a ton of rainfall here, but you can see as you go on in through September, mid portion of September, of course, you start getting back a little bit closer towards that fall weather. Now, this is the 46-day precipitation anomaly. It continues to show below normal here across a lot of the Pacific Northwest. Take that with a grain of salt, but just thought I'd show that. I showed it yesterday as well. Now, just a reminder, if you're out and about, even when it is cloudy out there, you're still getting a pretty good dose of UV. So just a reminder out there, when you're out in the sunshine, it is definitely high. This is for Seattle. That goes for the coastal areas. If you're dealing with the direct sun out there, just because you're in the 60s or low 70s, you're still getting a good amount of sunshine. Spokane, for example, into the very high. And you can see Southwest Oregon. This is right near the coastline, also still very high for this time of year. And here's a 6 to 10 day. They start to bring that above normal. They're picking up on that ridge here as we go on in towards next weekend, showing up on the Climate Prediction Center. There's that trough as it kicks through across some of the Rocky Mountains. And then we go to the 6 to 10 day precipitation. That makes sense right there. Maybe some above average for some of the troughing there in the thunderstorm activity, and then the below normal creeping back in towards the west coast. And if you want to check out the Patreon page, do so down below. I'm going to scroll back up here a little bit, and you can see I did a Blue Angels video there yesterday. Check it out. I did it all slow motion. All the clips are in 20% speed there on the 4K, 120 frames a second. So yeah, check it out. Let me know what you guys think. Yeah, and click like if you like it. And I was watching this. You can kind of see, I know a lot of people subscribed here, and maybe people that aren't normal viewers of the channel, and we got me up over 100,000. So I was a little bit nervous that maybe the subscriber count would bounce back down. It starts to bounce around a lot once you get a bunch of subscribers, because people drop off and whatnot, and sometimes YouTube kicks people's subscription off for unknown reasons, or so I've heard. Whatever, maybe some glitch in the system there. But anyway, it looks like we're up over 100,000, and maybe we are good to go and stay there. And YouTube, you can take up to 10 days for them to send me information about getting the silver play button award or whatever that is. But yeah, fun stuff there. But anyway, yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good day. I'll be out there again one more time at Seafair shooting some additional shots today. I'll probably put together a Blue Angels video just with the ambient noise of Seafair and the planes themselves. So anyway, click like and subscribe. Hope you guys are having a good day, and I will talk to you guys later.